So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear colleagues, Assalamu alaikum. We are going to discuss today the tumors of the skin appendages, and we will only discuss hair tumors and neckrine tumors today. The tumors of skin appendages are a group of tumors characterized by variable degrees of differentiation towards one or more skin appendages, including the hair follicle, sebaceous glands, and sweat glands. And they are also classified according to their differentiation. Tumors may be of hair origin, apocrine, neckrine, or sebaceous glands, and some miscellaneous as well. The tumors of hair origin are further subclassified like hair follicle tumors, external root sheath tumors, and certain other which are being displayed on your screen. We'll discuss them all one by one. The hair follicle tumors subgroup consists of comedo nevus, dilated pore, and trichoadenoma, and certain other tumors which we are going to discuss. Comedo nevus, also known as nevus comedonicus. It's a rare abnormality of the follicular infundibulum, may be present at birth or develop throughout adult life. It appears as cluster of comedons, mainly on the head and neck area. Now, this is the cluster of comedons, which the comedons may look like comedons of the acne or more likely like Fabry-Ricochet syndrome. They may appear in linear, nevoid, bilateral, or zoostoriform pattern, and inflammatory acne-like lesions may develop later. And sometimes they may occur on other areas like palms and wrists as well. These are the clinical pictures of nevus comedonicus. You can see closely set comedons in this one, and also in this one, and certain more pictures of nevus comedonicus. As clinically, there are closely set comedons. Same is true histopathologically. Now you can see that closely set comedons are seen in a histopathological section as well. Treatment may not be required, but may be required for the cosmetic concern. And if required, then we have got certain options like topical therapy, like topical retinoic acid, salicylic acid, or ammonium lactate lotions. Surgical excision is only possible when the lesion is small, but incomplete excision may result in recurrence. Laser therapy has been used in the treatment of nevus comedonicus. Carbon dioxide laser and ablative mode have been used, and certain other lasers have also been used in the treatment. Dilated pore of Wiener is a benign condition, an area of expanded follicular infundibulum with a dilated pore opening extending down to the subcutaneous fat. Now, this is the follicular, this is the dilated pore opening, and which is extending down almost to the fatty layer. Clinically, it presents like a large comedo-like lesion, mainly over the head and neck area. This is the clinical presentation. And again, on histology, there is a wider crater-like cavity, and wider crater-like cavity is surrounded by acanthotic areas of follicular epithelium. This is a follicular epithelium, and this is a crater-like cavity. Treatment may not be necessary, but if it is required for cosmetic concern or when the lesion become persistently inflamed, then we can use the option of topical retinoid, ammonium lactate, or certain cosmetic steps, or maybe laser therapy and surgical excision. Pilar sheath acanthoma is a rare follicular tumor with differentiation towards the infundibulum and the isthmus. It presents as solitary, asymptomatic, skin-colored nodule with a central pore-like opening, mostly on the upper lip. Now you can see this is a nodule which has got a punctum in the center. Now you must be realizing that many of the appendigeal tumors do not have the specific clinical picture. For the diagnosis, we have to go for the histology. But there are certain tumors in which the clinical picture is typical, like as we discussed, trichoepithelioma. Even in this one, the inner punctum would suggest that it can be a pilar sheath acanthoma. Now, it is very similar to trichofolliculoma. In trichofolliculoma, which we'll discuss in a short while, also present as a papule or a nodule in a punctum in the center. But then again, in trichofolliculoma, the hairs are coming out. But in this case, there are no hair coming out. So goes with pilar sheath. Histologically, there is a small cystic space. Now you can realize this is the small cystic space which goes with that punctum in the center. And this cystic space is surrounded by lobular proliferation of benign squamous epithelium. With that, we come to trichoadenoma. The term trichoadenoma is a misnomer, as there are no adenomas of follicular lineage, since the hair follicle is not a structure that exhibit glandular differentiation, but still the term is being used, trichoadenoma. It presents as a non-specific nodule. Now, I mean, as far as the clinical picture is concerned, you cannot diagnose correctly the trichoadenoma. You may, suspect it, but you have to go for histopathology for the diagnosis of trichoadenoma. This is the clinical picture. It is a non-diagnostic as far as the clinical picture is concerned, and we have to go for the surgical excision. And not only this will remove the tumor, but would provide us the opportunity to go for histopathological diagnosis. And as far as the histopathology is concerned, histopathologically, we see numerous cystic spaces, as you can see this one, and this one, and this is surrounded by the epithelial strands. Now, with that, we come to inverted follicular keratosis. So now, its histology is very interesting. We will come to that. It is considered as an inflammatory variant of seborrheic keratosis, and the histology also resembles with seborrheic keratosis, but the clinical picture is different, and also there are certain histological differences as well. Actually, this is an endophytic lesion. What is meant by endophytic lesion? I'll explain you better in a moment. Clinically, it presents as solitary papule on the head and neck area, like this one, as you can see this one, and maybe this one a little bigger. The treatment, of course, is surgical excision, which would provide us the opportunity to go for histopathology. And what is the histopathology? Histopathology of inverted follicular keratosis is very typical. The first thing is endophytic lesion. By endophytic lesion means that this is the epidermis, and there's a fist-like structure, mukke ki tarah ka. It's coming down. In seborrheic keratosis, it's an exophytic lesion. It would go outside, but in this case, it is an endophytic lesion. And again, in a higher magnification, you can find an endophytic lesion which is going inside. And once we go for the higher magnification, we find the haunches and the squamous eddies. In this, you can see the haunches, squamous eddies are visible here, but for that, we need a little more higher magnification. And what are the haunches? Haunches represent the foci of abrupt, complete keratinization, which can be true haunches or pseudo haunches. I'll not go into the detail. Squamous eddies, they represent circumscribed eosinophilic flattened squamous cells. Now, these are the squamous eddies. It's not characteristic of inverted follicular keratosis. They can be seen in seborrheic, irritated seborrheic keratosis. They can be seen in squamous cell carcinoma. So, histopathologically, this has to be differentiated from irritated seborrheic keratosis. As I mentioned, there can be haunches and squamous eddies also in irritated seborrheic keratosis. However, seborrheic keratosis is an exophytic lesion, while inverted follicular keratosis is an endophytic lesion. Also, we have to differentiate it from squamous cell carcinoma. However, in inverted follicular keratosis, no marked atypia, no individual cell invasion in the dermis is seen as we see in squamous cell carcinoma. Tumor of the follicular infundibulum is a rare tumor that shows differentiation towards the follicular infundibulum or isthmus. It presents as large, irregular nodule, usually on the face of an elderly female. There may be a solitary lesion, or there may be some multiple lesions. The multiple tumors are seen in Cowden disease and also in eruptive tumors. Management is, if the solitary, then surgical excision. Eruptive variants are difficult to treat. Now, this is a picture of multiple tumors of the follicular infundibulum, which we see in Cowden disease and as an eruptive phenomenon. Histologically, there are plate-like dermal tumor with anesmosing island and cords, which is very similar to the BCC but there are certain differences. This plate consists of connection to the overlying epidermis. There are horn cysts, and is peripheral perisurging. But stromal element, which is seen in BCC, is not seen in this entity. With that, we come to the next subgroup, which consists of tricholemmal cyst, proliferating tricholemmal tumor, tricholemoma, and tricholemmal carcinoma. The tricholemmal cysts, which are also known as pilar cysts, present as smooth, mobile, firm, and rounded nodule mainly on the scalp, like this one, and this one. Unlike epidermoid cysts, there is usually no punctum. So there is no punctum present. Usually they are multiple and they are more common in middle-aged females and may be inherited as an autosomal dominant disorder. Now, as far as the histopathology is concerned, there is an epithelial lining, but no granular layer. Okay? We have seen clinically from epidermoid cyst, the difference is there is no punctum. And again, histologically, we don't find granular layer, which we see in epidermoid cyst. And centrally, you can see homogeneous pink staining. Tricholemmal cysts have got certain other presentations like inflamed cysts. The cyst may become tender and the cyst may, a wall can rupture following an infection. Another type of pilar cyst is marsupialized cyst. The cyst wall may fuse with the epidermis to form a crypt, which can occasionally terminate by discharging its contents. There is a soft cutaneous horn formation at time. Content may protrude above the surface to form a soft cutaneous horn. Differential diagnosis, as we already mentioned, is from epidermoid cyst, but this tricholemmal cyst doesn't have the punctum, it doesn't have the granular layer in pilar cyst. Proliferating tricholemmal cyst we will discuss later, but this condition presents as rapidly growing large nodule. Investigation is excisional biopsy. Management in uncomplicated cysts can be removed with relative ease. Proliferating tricholemmal cyst is a tumor of external root sheath, usually arising in a pre-existing pilar cyst. It presents as rapidly growing large nodule, commonly on the head and neck area. Now, this is the clinical presentation. There is rapid expansion, frequently giving rise to concern about the malignancy, and in fact, malignant change can rarely occur. Management is the complete excision and certain other modalities as well. Tricholemoma, classically considered to be proliferation of the external root sheath of the hair follicle, usually present in young and middle-aged adults. There is a solitary variety as well. This is the solitary tricholemoma, and there are multiple lesions which are seen in the Cowden disease, like this one. This is the multiple tricholemoma, and this is solitary tricholemoma. Management is surgical excision and sometimes the laser therapy as well. Now, since Cowden disease is coming again and again, let's have a look, very brief look at the Cowden disease, just to remind our memory. It's an autosomal dominant condition. There is a mutation of PTN tumor suppressor gene in the chromosome 10. Features include, the cutaneous features include tricholemoma, multiple tricholemomas, oral mucosal papillomatosis, acrokeratosis, verruciform-like lesions over the dorsum of the hand, and small translucent keratosis on palms and soles. You can see these are the multiple tricholemoma. These are oral mucosal papillomatosis, and this is acrokeratosis verruciform-like lesion, and this is the keratosis over the palms. And important thing of Cowden disease is why to identify Cowden disease is important, because there is association with malignancy, including the malignancy of the breast, thyroid, and GIT, and certain other malignancies as well. There is a variety of trichoepithelioma, which is rare one is known as desmoplastic trichoepithelioma, which may be confused with squamous cell carcinoma at time because of the desmoplastic stroma is present. And this is the stands of trichoepithelioma, but there are sclerotic stromal stands surrounding this lesion. This is the clinical picture of desmoplastic trichoepithelioma. With that, we come to the next Hematoma and hair germ tumors and cysts. In this group, we have got trichoepithelioma, desmoplastic trichoepithelioma, and certain other tumors we'll discuss in a moment. Trichoepithelioma composed of immature islands of basaloid cells. Multiple lesions which are inherited by autosomal dominant condition, mutation in CYLD and PTCH tumor suppressor genes. Clinical presentation is a skin-colored nodule, which may be solitary, like this one, but most of the time, which we come in clinical practice, are the multiple lesion, multiple small pearly lesion, mainly on the centrofacial skin, like this one, which may be resembling the angiofibromas of tuberculosis. This is again multiple familial trichoepithelioma. Other pictures of multiple trichoepithelioma, you can see this one, especially onto the nasal. The histopathology is basaloid tumors. Now you can see this is the basaloid tumor. These are the basaloid tumor. The horn cysts are also seen. Peripheral palisading is also present, but no artifactual retraction of the tumor as we see in BCC. Trichoepithelioma is a benign lesion. Malignant transformation is extremely rare. Treatment for cosmetic reasons or for malignant change include the options include surgical excision, curettage, cryotherapy, dermabrasion, and some carbon dioxide laser as well. Brooks-Spiegler syndrome is called when multiple trichoepithelioma are associated with cylindroma and spire adenoma, which is an autosomal dominant inherited condition. With that, we come to the desmoplastic trichoepithelioma, a variant of trichoepithelioma with exaggerated stromal sclerosis, that is known as desmoplasia. I'll explain you in a moment, which clinically presents as solitary, firm, skin-colored to erythematous annular plaque with a central dell on the cheek of it. This is the classical picture of the desmoplastic trichoepithelioma. The differential diagnosis has to be made from morphic BCC. The treatment consists of local excision, curettage, or electrodesiccation. So this is the histological picture of desmoplastic trichoepithelioma. There are narrow stands of epithelial cells. These are the narrow stand, but they are embedded in a fibrostoma. You can see a lot of fibrosis is present, and they are very thin stands of epithelial cell, and horn cysts are also seen in the desmoplastic trichoepithelium. Differential diagnosis has to be made from basal cell carcinoma. In desmoplastic trichoepithelioma, the striking palisading of BCC is absent, and number of cysts is very much greater in the desmoplastic trichoepithelioma. These are the more picture of. You can see the annular clinical picture, again annular clinical picture, and on histologically you can find a lot of desmoplasia and thin strands. Solitary giant trichoepithelioma is a rare tumor with a dramatic clinical presentation that may cause concern about a rapidly growing malignancy. Clinical feature is that it's a very large polypoid lesion, mostly presenting on the lower trunk. In this case, it is seen on the chest. Another lesion of the solitary giant trichoepithelioma, which may raise the concern of the malignancy, but histopathology is typical of trichoepithelioma. Management, of course, is excision, which is required to confirm the diagnosis. Trichoblastoma is a rare tumor of the hair germ, which present as deeply or superficially situated dermal or subcutaneous nodule on the head and neck area. It is trichoblastoma is the most common neoplasm occurring in nevus species. This is the trichoblastoma, and this is the trichoblastoma occurring in the nevus species. Previously, BCC was used to be considered as, or syringocystis adenoma papilliferum was considered to be very common tumor considered, but now trichoblastoma is considered to be the most common tumor occurring in nevus species. The histopathology consists of well-circumscribed basaloid tumor aggregate in the dermis, as you can see, but there is no ATP. It's a benign condition. Malignant transformation of the epithelial or even mesenchymal component may sometime rarely occur. The management, of course, is complete excision, and it is important to exclude the BCC as well. With that, we come to the trichofolliculoma. Now, trichofolliculoma clinically present as papule or nodule on a face, but it is different from is that it has got a central follicular ostium or punctum, may harbor a small tuft of more lightly pigmented hair. So there is a punctum like this one, and papule or a nodule, and from this the hair are coming out, like this one and this one also. As far as the histopathology is concerned, there is a large central follicular structure. This is the large structure, and surrounding this are small immature hair follicle. Now, sometimes it may, some people call it as mature follicle emptying into the mother of all follicles. This is the mother of all follicle, and these are the children of the mother. Eruptive varices, occlusion and cystic dilatation of vellus hair follicles present as multiple small red or brown papules on the chest, commonly in the second decade of life. These are the clinical picture of vellus cyst. There may be family clustering associated with pachyonychia congenita has been determined. Management include topical retinoid, curettage, or laser therapy. Hair follicle nevus plaque-like lesion with a small tuft of hair present in children, may be congenital, and one of this is the fawn-tail nevus, which we uh, often see in our clinical practice, which has association with certain other problems as well. We'll not go into the detail, but this is the picture of fawn-tail nevus, which is a hair follicle nevus. Next subgroup is hair matrix tumor, which consists of pilomatricoma and pilomatric carcinoma, the malignant variant. It is also known as pilomatrixoma. It is a benign tumor, and it presents as solitary, deep, dermal, or subcutaneous nodule that elevates the epidermis with a tent sign. This is the tent sign unit, elevating the epidermis. And once we palpate it, it's firm to spony hard and lobular in shape. This is again another case of pilomatricoma. In many cases, pilomatricoma, they're hard to feel. This one and this one as well. The histopathology is important, and I would say histopathology is important from the examination point of view. Is also important because this slide can be there in the FCPS examination. Basically, there are three types of cells. One are the basaloid cell. Now you can see these are the basaloid cell, and these are the shadow cell, which have lost the basophilic material. They are eosinophilic, and these are the basophilic, and they're in between these two. These are the transition cells. So there are three types of cells: basal cells, shadow or ghost cell, and there are transition cell. And at the center, we may find the calcification. There are certain complications which may occur in pilomatricoma, including the granulomatous change once it becomes red inflamed, and other the malignant change once it may transform into pilomatricoma. Pilometrocarcinoma. The diagnosis is suspected if a subcutaneous nodule feel hard and nodular. The presence of calcium salts may be demonstrated on radiographically, but of course we have to differentiate it from calcification in cysts and certain other tumors of the skin, which may show hardness and calcification. The management consists of local excision or sometimes the wide excision once we are suspecting the malignancy. This is the malignant counterpart, which is known as pilomatric carcinoma. Are we there? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. The clinical feature include rapidly expanding firm nodule, mainly on the head and neck area. Management, as we already mentioned, is wide local excision. Follow-up is definitely required. With that, we finish up the hair follicle tumor, and we come to the eccrine gland tumor, which includes syringoma, poroma, hydrocystoma, and many other. We'll discuss them one by one. Syringomas present as multiple small, firm, skin-colored, yellowish or mauve papule, commonly on the periorbital area, bilaterally symmetrical. You can see these are the things which we come across quite commonly in our clinical practice, I would say. They are more common in women and mostly appear at the adolescence. These are the more pictures of syringomas, as you can see. And there is a variety of known as eruptive syringomas. Now, eruptive syringomas present as successive crop of small flesh-colored papule on the anterior part of the body, the neck, chest, abdomen, and may sometimes on the pubic areas. You can see the eruptive syringomas. So many. Now, histopathology, I would again say, is important from the exam point of view as well, because the histology is very typical and one should not miss it. It consists of the collection of convoluted and cystic ducts. Now, you can see these are the convoluted and cystic ducts, and the more characteristic is tadpole appearance. There are so many tadpole, like this you can see is a tadpole. Here you can see a tadpole. Tadpole is because there is some protrusion because of the tubular structure. So the histopathology is convoluted cystic structures, and there is a tadpole. More histopathological picture, you can see there are convoluted cystic ducts, and on higher magnification, you can see the tadpole shape, which is quite characteristic also. Lesions are benign. They can be treated for cosmetic reason with the help of diathermy and certain other methods like TCA application, cryotherapy, etc. Eccrine poroma present as moist ectophytic lesion, pink or red in color, mostly on the palms and soles. This is very, I would say, relatively easy to diagnose clinically a lesion, although we have to confirm histopathologically. But the diagnosis is generally comparatively easy, although there are certain differential diagnoses. This is the classical picture of eccrine poroma, a solidly eroded red plaque on the plantar surface. There are more eccrine poroma. The differential diagnosis has to be made from amelanotic melanoma and also from pyogenic granuloma. The lesions, which maybe some are more exophytic, some are not. These are all eccrine poroma, and you can see they are all seen on either palms or soles. There are certain variants of eccrine poroma. One of them is pigmented eccrine poroma. You can see this is the pigmented eccrine poroma. And there is another variety which is poroma in the nevus species. This is the poroma which is appearing in the nevus species. And there is another variety known as multiple poromas, also known as poromatosis. Now you can see there are multiple poromas which may occur during pregnancy or certain other conditions like chemotherapy, etc. Again, the histopathology is quite characteristic. There are nodular aggregates of basaloid cells extend from the epidermis into the superficial dermis, and tumor is connected with the epidermis. These are the basaloid aggregate which are originating from the epidermis, and these are all aggregate, but the connection remains with the epidermis. This connection has to be demonstrated for histopathological confirmation of eccrine poroma. A lesion is benign, but however, malignant change has been reported. Management is surgical excision, and if there is a malignancy we are suspecting, then wider excision and follow-up is eccrine dermal duct tumor is part of the spectrum of eccrine poroma, and some people take it as a variant of eccrine poroma. The term is used to designate an eccrine poroma that is located entirely within the dermis. As I mentioned, in eccrine poroma, there is epidermal connection. But in case of eccrine dermal duct tumor, you do not find the epidermal connection in the histopathology. Clinical feature present as firm nodule, mostly on the lower limb and sometimes on the head and neck. There is interdermal island of basaloid cells resembling those of eccrine poroma. These are the basaloid cells, interdermal basaloid cell, but usually there is no connection seen. And if the connection is seen, then it is eccrine poroma, not eccrine dermal duct. Management is excision. Eccrine hydrocystoma is a benign tumor which is mostly seen in the middle There is also a variety of apocrine hydrocystoma, and it's very clinically, you cannot differentiate between acrine hydrocystoma and apocrine hydrocystoma. And I'll come to that, how apocrine hydrocystoma. It presents as cystic blue lesion on the cheek or eyelid. Hello?
जी सर.
Internet काम. So it presents like this is the clinical presentation. This is a typical site, and these are more pictures of acrine hydrocystoma. On histologically, we find a dermal cystic lesion lined by two layers of the cells. But important thing is that there is no decapitation secretion. If the decapitation secretion, we'll discuss it in the next session. If the decapitation secretion is seen, which suggests suggestive, and then we leave it as apocrine hydrocystoma. But in this case, there is no decapitation secretion, so we would like to call it as acrine hydrocystoma. This is again histopathology. Decapitation is seen. Treatment is electrodesiccation, laser therapy, or excision. Then we come to hydroacanthoma simplex, which present as verrucous plaque. This is the picture of the hydroacanthoma simplex, which is mostly seen on the limb. The management is excision, and these are the other pictures of like a wart. This is a giant lesion of hydroacanthoma simplex. The histology consists of nests of discrete small rounded cells seen within the normal epidermal cell. These are the discrete small rounded cells. These small cells are seen. Acrine angiomatous nevus consists of the combination of proliferation of acrine along with a vascular component. Present mostly as solitary, flesh-colored or bluish angiomatous nodule or plaque, mostly on extremities, particularly the palms and sole. This is the clinical picture of acrine angiomatous nevus. The important thing is that it can be painful. So one of the painful condition. And histologically, what we see that in the dermis, not only the acrine glands are present more, but it is surrounded and intermingled with by the vascular component. So this is acrine angiomatous. The tubular papillary adenoma present as slowly growing solitary nodule, usually on the limb of darker skin individual. It has not been described in the white people, and the clinical picture is not very diagnostic. Histologically, what we see are the well-circumscribed tumor made up of dilated tubular channel. These are the tubular channel to which it is made of. The acrine syringofibroadenoma is a rare benign adnexal neoplasm derived from the cells of acrosyringium of the acrine sweat gland. It presents as usually as a solitary nodule on the extremities of an elderly patients. This is the picture of acrine syringofibroadenoma. The histology is very typical. Histology consists of anastomosing stands of small epithelial cells arising from the epidermis. As you can see, these are the anastomosing bands, which is a very characteristic histology, which does not resemble with other tumors. So this is characteristic, although it's a rare tumor, histology is typical. Treatment is, of course, a surgical excision. And with that, I thank you very much, and forgive me for being fast because I wanted to complete it in this time. Any question, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, sir.